This short film, for me, it's a way to showcase to the world that manta rays need much greater attention, but it's also a way to show people how they too can make a difference to help this species.
Sustainable ecotourism is all about longevity. So some of these mantas have been visited for decades, and our kids can see the same individual mantas we're seeing. But we have to be smart and make sure that we aren't causing harm. I want everyone to have this experience, and it's up to us and our actions now to ensure the future of manta populations.
Hi, my name is Nikki Brito, and I'm a graduate student at the University of Miami studying marine biology and ecology.
My name is Morgan Eason, and I recently graduated with my master's degree in marine conservation from the University of Miami.
This film actually got to start over a year ago. Morgan and I took a class together where we were asked to create our dream expeditions. I always had a curiosity about manta rays, but never got the chance to learn more about them. I used this assignment as an opportunity to change that. The more I looked into manta rays, the more I realized that we don't know much about them. It seemed like only a few people had ever attempted to work with these animals or understand them better.
About halfway through the semester, I told her I really liked her idea, and if she was thinking about making it a reality, I wanted to partner up with her. So we started working through it together and got in touch with the Manta Pacific Research Foundation, and it kind of just took off from there.
My name is Keller Laros, and I'm the co-founder and current president of the Manta Pacific Research Foundation. Well, Hawaii has always been a huge destination for people to come on vacation. Manta ray tourism has really blown up in the last 30 years. And now Kona, Hawaii is known as one of the world's best places to go to see manta rays.
So manta rays are one of the biggest tourist attractions on the Big Island, and people come from all around the world to see them and spend some time with them and experience their curious and gentle nature.
As much as we've been studying manta rays, we don't know a lot about how they impact the overall ecosystem of the reef.
Manta rays are important to the ecosystem in Kona because they play a major ecological role. Presently, they have a top-down control on the environment they're in by consuming plankton and zooplankton in the water column. This trophic cascade helps to regulate plankton abundance in the ecosystem, and it helps to regulate nutrient cycling in the ocean.
Mantas regulate plankton abundance, which impacts the environment on a global scale. Plankton creates oxygen, so everything that consumes oxygen relies on plankton. That's nearly every ocean animal, from tiny crustaceans to the largest whales, and terrestrial animals from birds to lions, and even you and me.
A fact most people are unaware of is that plankton produce 50 to 70% of global oxygen supply. They produce the oxygen by utilizing much of the carbon dioxide that is absorbed into the ocean from our atmosphere. By manta rays regulating plankton populations, it allows for those planktonic organisms to continue their important role without outcompeting other organisms for light availability.
There's research to suggest that mantas in their nearshore regions visit deep water for shorter periods of time. That back and forth means that they consume plankton from different depths and regions, and they create waste that's then transported to nearshore and offshore areas as they travel. So in this way, mantas are moving nutrients across regions. Other large animals can have similar impacts. It's important for the environment to move those nutrients vertically through the water column and horizontally to various regions.
The fact that manta rays have such a strong relationship with plankton abundance, it should encourage us to learn more about this species and should encourage greater conservation efforts. Scientists have estimated the lifespan of manta rays to be between 40 and 50 years, but that's still being determined. Manta ray reproduction is also still poorly understood. We know that they give birth to their pups in nearshore nurseries, but even those nurseries are difficult to find.
The population of manta rays along the Kona coast is only several hundred. So a big danger about their reproduction rates is if there is any pressure on their population. And with such a small population here in Kona, that even if you remove 10 or 15 manta rays, that's a significant part of the population.
since the species are all interconnected, if we remove a piece of a puzzle like manta rays, sometimes we can always predict the consequences, but the whole ecosystem might suffer and change.
Every one of us have our own stories about the manta, and it's not a scripted storyline because we have connections and traditions. And so my storyline regarding the manta is connecting it to Kanaloa, and Kanaloa is the god of the ocean. The manta actually is another representation of long-distance voyaging, of navigation, as it travels far. It can go as far as it wants to go. If you put two of the canoe sails together, it actually looks like a manta, you know. For my family, we look at things like that. We look beyond and what it has to offer.
The regularity of us being able to bring people from Middle America or Russia or China or Patagonia or anywhere in the world, and place them in respectful proximity to something so beautiful and so majestic and so clearly present in its interaction with the human, that it fosters a moment where you can take anybody in the world and say, hey, look, this is just one thing going on out here. The ocean is a beautiful and mysterious place, and truth be told, the ocean is in peril right now, and we need to pay attention to this thing like never before.
It allows people to conquer their fears of sharks and rays. I think that getting in the water at night with a big animal is intimidating, and when they have such a fun and positive experience, it leads to a big gain of appreciation. Taking kids snorkeling and scuba diving, hands down, getting them in the water is just the best. Opening that whole world of them being able to start identifying creatures and figuring out how the ecosystems are connected and how everything works. They've learned a lot in books, and they're really interested in learning about this stuff, and then when you actually see it come together, is really powerful.
What are you most excited about today with the manta ray dives?
Oh, making friends with the manta ray. Just getting bumped by them. That's gonna be exciting.
What about you, Dustin?
Well, I just want to see them.
I believe that kids are natural ambassadors. They want to learn, they want to grow, and then they immediately want to share it and they want to help. I believe that that leads to future stewardship. I feel like they're going to be the protectors of the oceans and the beaches and our watersheds.
So what was that like for you, seeing a manta ray for the first time?
Oh, it was just gorgeous.
Yeah?
I came to Hawaii with the family on vacation. We did a manta ray night dive, and when I first met those manta rays, that was it. I became a scuba instructor, a PADI master scuba diver trainer. I moved to Hawaii in 1991, and I've been here ever since. And back then there were no moorings in Hawaii. You just always dropped your anchor, and we dropped the anchor and we swam into the shallow water, and these manta rays were swimming back and forth in like 20 feet of water. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is just the most unbelievable thing. You know, they're lit from above. We got our dive lights below. It was like a science fiction, you know, Alice in Wonderland moment. And after that, I decided not to go to grad school and to become a scuba instructor. In 2002, Manta Pacific Research Foundation was founded as a 501c3 nonprofit corporation here in Kailua Kona. We're dedicated to research, education, and conservation relating to manta rays in the marine environment. In the almost 20 years We've worked on creating a database about manta rays. We have over 300 manta rays that we've identified on the Big Island of Hawaii now. If somebody finds a manta ray, they get an image of the abdominal spot pattern, which is unique to each and every manta ray. When they get that picture, they can go and check the database. If it's a new manta ray, they get to name it. Some of the other things we've done are our manta ray education programs. I've been teaching a manta ray specialty class. It's PADI Manta Ray Diver. We started that in 1993, and we've been teaching that here at Jack's Diving Locker since then. It's the #1 specialty class we've ever taught at Jack's Diving Locker. And it teaches scuba divers how to swim and scuba dive and how to recognize manta rays and all the aspects of manta ray physiology and how to interact with them responsibly. So in 2013, Manta Pacific was sort of the facilitator for a number of meetings where we had concerned operators, diving and snorkeling operators, come together, and we created the guidelines for the manta ray night dive.
Manta rays are mysterious.
I think they're magical too.
I know you do.
The mantas seem to be thriving, but there is a concern that they could be hit by a prop or that a guest in the water could be hit by a propeller.
So if you have people live boating, just driving around in the dark with 200 snorkelers floating in the water, there's a potential for an accident there.
It's actually pretty amazing that we could probably have 50 to 100 people in the water and everybody can still have an amazing experience.
So we put together these community standards. We made it available to everyone, who is involved in the industry.
Also do some research, pick your operator, try to get one that has a good reputation for being an eco-friendly, concerned, well-established operator.
I think that most of the operators that are out there really truly care about the manta rays and they care about the experience that the people are having and the safety of the people and the manta rays.
When choosing a dive operator, I recommend making sure safety is a top priority, not just for the mantas once you're in the water, but for the people too. It's not required that operators have rescue, CPR, oxygen, or even lifeguard certifications, so ensuring that your operator can perform emergency life-saving procedures should it be necessary is a big deal. There are a lot of responsible companies, so it's just about doing your part to make sure you're choosing one of those.
Mindfulness of the manta rays and yourself is super important. Safe practices like making sure the boats don't drive while lights are attached to the back, that's really important. Manta rays are attracted to the light, so if they start chasing lights around propellers that are mobile, then that could really hurt them.
I want to make sure that everyone has a safe and sustainable, exciting and impactful experience. And those are really important, right? I mean, safety is a huge factor. The people that go out in the water, I don't want anyone to get hurt or worse. So it's really important that people go out and go with a reputable dive company, where the guides are trained as lifeguards, as rescue divers, where people actually know how to supervise people in the water, because safety is job #1.
I was nervous before getting in the water with mantas for the first time. I had heard so many people describing their experiences and trying to describe how I would feel. So I was excited about it, but at the same time, it's a very large animal in a very large space. So it can be intimidating to be in that situation when you aren't sure what to expect.
Being submerged in the water and being able to look at them from their actual environment and really being in it, that was something that I couldn't even fathom what that would be like.
Safety briefings are crucial before a dive. The instructor is going to tell you where to go once you get down, how to find the most exciting things on the dive, as well as how to find the lead diver, any hand signals you need a refresher on, and the expected timeline of the dive. They're going to go over how to ensure a safe experience for everyone on the dive, as well as the mantas. It's absolutely critical to pay attention to those safety briefings.
find it's amazing that manta rays have the largest brain of all fish. That makes it very interesting for me. Why do they need such a large brain? And that's why I started to study their sensory and cognitive abilities and also their social behavior.
After swimming with them for decades, really, you start to notice and recognize their personalities. They have personalities.
Absolutely.
You know, little Tazzy likes to do tight circles. You know, Bertha comes in and she's just real slow and methodical. She's the matriarch of the scene. Everybody gets out of her way.
I love watching their kind of kooky behavior. Sometimes they're shy and they'll kind of swim on the outside of where the rest of the manta rays are doing their dance. And they look a little bit awkward swimming around.
Definitely, I'm convinced that manta rays have their own unique personality. Sometimes we experience that some of them are more shy or more bold or friendly or curious, or they have more or less dominant behavior. So we are working with the Manta Pacific Research Foundation in Kona to try to identify certain behavioral characteristics to be able to distinguish these different personality profiles.
It's a hard life on the reef, but the manta rays that I've seen injured primarily have been either hit by boats, run into some sort of obstruction like a mooring or a fishing line. And the fishing lines and those entanglements are the most common ones by far. Fishing line is very, very strong, it's very, very fine, and it can really cut, injure, and damage manta rays.
One of our dives, there was a younger manta with fishing line wrapped around its tail, and Keller swam up and was able to cut it loose after a few attempts. We ended up with about 50 feet of monofilament fishing line from that one manta, but I was grateful that someone with so much experience working with mantas was there to help out in that situation.
We had another time where one of the manta rays, Coe is her name, her left cephalic fin is missing, and she's very easy to identify. And she showed up and she had fishing line wrapped around her left cephalic fin, and we were able to cut it off. But the fin was so badly damaged, it eventually fell off. So you see her and she's just got her right cephalic fin.
My most memorable moment with a manta ray was the first time I saw a manta ray. I remember being underwater and hearing a bang of the tanks from other divers. And as I approached all the other divers, I just saw a huge shadow coming out from the distance and over the ledge. And I didn't know what to expect because I had never been in the water with a manta ray before. And when it swam towards me, I was excited and I wasn't scared at all. Just having that experience where I could connect with a creature that was foreign to me was just such an amazing experience, and I would hope that anybody who swims with a manta ray could have the same experience that I did.
My most memorable moment with a manta was definitely my first experience with a manta. And I was swimming out with the dive lead, which was Keller, and I was swimming towards a ledge and I heard him bang on his tank, and I looked up, and coming from out of the dark blue water was this black shape, and I just froze, and they came right over my head, so close, really within inches, and it was just the coolest experience of my life.
I'm still in awe thinking about it, seeing them in the distance, you know, slowly, gently, gracefully coming forward towards the light. And oh, by the way, at the same time, there's another one coming over here. And they meet, and you think, oh my God, they're gonna collide, and they don't. They just go in a barrel roll, synchronized. You know, I hear symphonies.
Well, the night dives in Kona kind of happened organically because there were local Hawaiians who would go and see the manta rays consistently in certain areas. So they started going out there and regularly interacting with these manta rays in a safe way. And then I think multiple dive shops started noticing that this is something that they can take more people out to see, and they can share the love of manta rays with more people. Manta rays are active at specific sites around Kona because they have lights they shine in the water that attract the plankton. Mantas eat the plankton, so when the plankton gathers in such incredible abundance, the mantas come in to feed.
My first night dive was the dive trip I was most excited about. In general, night dives are always an adrenaline rush for me, just jumping in the water and not knowing what's going to be around. But knowing I would see a manta ray in the dark, that was even better. When we first approached the site, I could see the mantas from the surface, and they were far enough away that it just built the excitement. And then when we settled down around the campfire, I just felt a wave of calm. Getting in the water at night with so many mantas, I realized that it was infinitely better than other people's descriptions led me to believe. It's hard to be underwater when you're smiling so much because my mask was filling with water, but I couldn't help it. So I just smiled and cleared my mask a lot. This film is really to encourage people to safely dive with manta rays. Don't touch them. If you bring anything into the water, please take it out of the water. Don't leave it there. We want to make sure with ecotourism that everybody coming into the water can have the same experience for years to come. And that's when ecotourism can be a positive thing, because you can influence so many people, hundreds of people over years and years and years.
My biggest concern about manta tourism as a whole is anybody practicing irresponsible tourism. Any touching of mantas or not following safe, sustainable practices is not only detrimental potentially to the people involved, but to the mantas, and we don't really understand fully what our impacts can be. So making sure that you're choosing someone that's going to take you out and teach you not only how to have a fun and exciting interaction with these mantas, but a safe and sustainable one is critical.
What I'm taking away from this experience is how much growth I've had as a scientist, as a conservationist, and as a person on this planet. I feel like I've learned so much more than I ever gave this film credit for. I thought I was just going to learn about manta rays, but I've learned about people. I've learned about how they love something so much and they're willing to fight for it, and that's something that I have always identified with as a scientist. I care about the environment and the fact that I got to see a whole community of people come together to love this one creature, and their home in their backyard is the ocean. It was a beautiful thing to see, and I can only hope that what I've learned I can share with other people and continue to share with other people. And I hope that what I take away from this experience is something that everybody else can take away from this experience as well through the film Mission Manta.
Everyone that comes here and experiences these mantas walks away with something special, and it's difficult to explain. Through this experience, we've learned about all of those perspectives from people who grew up here, whose families have been here for generations, and even some who came to live here purely because of the magic that they experienced in the water. Meeting these people and how so many are excited about the ocean and the world around us brings me hope and makes me feel like tomorrow is exciting, and I'm optimistic about the possibilities. So Mission Manta is a small piece of a very large puzzle, and I'm grateful for this. If Mission Manta means a fraction as much to someone else as it's meant to me, then I think we've succeeded in what we set out to do.
You know, we live on the island of Hawaii, but we all live on the island of Earth. And if we don't take care of it, no one else is gonna. And there's no help coming. So we gotta get going, and we gotta get going now.